On today's question of faith, are the Orthodox and Roman Catholics going to unite? Hey everybody, this is Question of Faith. I'm Deacon Mike Hayes. I'm the Director of Young Adult Ministry here in the Diocese of Cleveland.
And I'm Father Damian Ferentz, the Vicar for Evangelization.
Also the Director of Ecumenical and Interfaith Relations here, I am, in the diocese. So it brings us to our question today.
Yeah, it's a good one, too.
And someone wrote in just about the differences between the Orthodox and the Roman Catholics celebrating Easter. That's okay. That's an easy question. We can knock that out right now.
And did that happen this year?
This year was on the same day.
It was, okay.
So, yeah.
And it often wasn't, because usually the Orthodox were a week later or a couple weeks later or something?
Yeah, it's about 13 days in the difference between the Julian calendar and the Gregorian calendar. So so 325, Nicaea, we agreed that Easter would fall after I never remember exactly this thing here, so I'm just going to look it up in my note here. Following the first full moon after the vernal equinox.
Ah.
So that's when we take. The difference is that we use two different calendars. So their vernal equinox is different from our vernal equinox.
Okay.
So the Julian calendar is about 13 days in difference. So the Orthodox will celebrate it 13 days away all the time.
But this year it was different. Was that because Pope Francis made a change, or what happened? Do you know?
No, it's just a coincidence this year that that the days match up because the equinox falls in different times. Like when Easter's really late, it's because the equinox is really late.
I see.
And so then it just kind of moves on down the road. So we'll put a link to the article here that explains all of this. But
so is it in the works, or?
That's the question. So Pope Francis met with the patriarch years ago and said, "Hey, why are we doing this? Why are we still following two different calendars? Easter can be a source of unity for us." And so they started to talk about, maybe we should celebrate Easter on the same time as a show of our unity as Christians. And so now Pope Leo is kind of picking that up, and he just met this week with various religions, and the Orthodox being one of them, and that was brought up, as that, maybe we should still talk about this. Can we unite around this common date for Easter?
Well, it certainly seems, and we've talked about this on our last few shows, that Pope Leo is a unifier. I mean, it's even written in his crest. And it's in Christ that we become one, so perhaps now is the time to make the move, and how wonderful that would be. I mean, it really does feel like a springtime in Christianity right now. I was on retreat last week at the TOR sisters in Toronto, Ohio. They rent out hermitages, and so I rented one out.
Oh, yeah,
it looked like a big shed.
Yeah, you put a picture of it somewhere.
On Insta, and the Amish built these things, and so I just stayed in one of these sheds it's not a shed, it's a hermitage, for 5 days, turned off the phone. It was glorious.
I have this picture of you like Oscar the Grouch coming up out
of the
garbage can
it's
shed.
Actually a really nice prayer space, because you had a bed.
It did look lovely. You're right.
A full bath, a shower, stove, everything you need, desk and all that. But I had Mass with the sisters a few times, and one of the times I was able to preach about this springtime that's happening in the church right now because of the new Pope in our diocese, the 8 new priests, that Gen Z is now returning to the church, even though the women aren't coming as quickly as we'd like. We've talked about that on the show too, but the meaninglessness that the world offers is making the church so much more attractive. Yeah. And perhaps this time of renewal and springtime in the church, it's that the time is right for the Orthodox and the Catholics to somehow come together too.
It's the 1700th anniversary of the Council of Nicaea.
Correct.
So that will be something to see, and that should be Pope Leo's first papal trip to Turkey. That's at least it's in the books right now. So he's definitely going to that. Whether he goes somewhere before then would be the question.
I've always wanted to go to Turkey
Me too.
to Istanbul, Constantinople to see Hagia Sophia. That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
But
yeah, so I had a couple of meetings this week actually with a couple of folks just talking about what work in this area are you doing already? That I could help promote as the ecumenical director. And they said, Well, we try to unite around some common holidays if we can. So we try to do something around Thanksgiving every year. That's a good common holiday. We all kind of celebrate secular in many ways, right?
Is this with all different religions, or is this just with Orthodox? Or
no, this was with Catholics.
Oh, okay.
So what are you doing with other faiths in the
I
diocese?
See. Oh,
and then
I see.
And then we go around. Now we do have a council of religions, if you would, that meets, and they do like a little symposia every year, a couple times a year. Smaller groups, so that's coming up on June 1st, actually at 3:00 out at 2:30, I should say, at John Carroll University this year. So that's open to the public. So feel free to come on. We're talking about the difference between spirituality and religion as a topic. So that'll be fun. And we've talked about that too. We've talked about what are ways that we can kind of get together and all kind of now that's religion, so it's a little more interfaith than ecumenism. The meetings I've had this week were really more about ecumenism. So I met with Father Lucas out at Jesu this week, who's a great guy, and
I was with him Sunday night.
One of the things that he said was that they gather the Christian communities out there all gather on Good Friday.
Oh, yeah.
And they celebrate a common Good Friday service each year.
They do that at your home parish, too, in Rocky River.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think COVID ended it. They haven't done it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think but I'm going to try to bring it back this coming year.
Because I was an intern there, and I remember that they did that.
Yeah.
There was the Stations of the Cross like at noon, and then we would have our liturgy at 3 in Rocky River.
Yeah. This year we did like a walking stations, and one of the stations we did stop at is in front of, I think, the Methodist Church. And so that's sort of a sign of unity for us. But he said that they do a common Good Friday service on the 7 last words. And he said, and we just let people, 7 different denominations all speak. Others preside. Other folks will preside as well. So it's a nice show of unity. So he said he gets to preach at that every year. So that's one way to do this.
Well, I know in our diocese, particularly because we are in Northeast Ohio, meeting with different Catholic rites is very common. So with the Ruthenian Catholics, Ukrainian Catholics, as I mentioned, on Good Friday or Holy Thursday night, Holy Night Hike, there were 22 Maronite Catholics that came with us, from the mostly Lebanese.
Yeah.
Some were born in Lebanon, some were born here, but I absolutely love that. And I know the Holy Father met with bishops from the Eastern Rite bishops, maybe in his first few days of being Pope. And now that he's, pursuing, and it's not like he's the first to do it. Obviously, Pope Francis did it, and Benedict and John Paul too.
John Paul certainly, yeah.
But big ships turn slowly, as they say. So we'll see what happens. But maybe now the time is right. That's why going back to the springtime, it just seems like things are really starting to click right now that we've been hoping for a long time. So. It's very exciting.
I would expect something big to be announced at this anniversary of Nicaea. I think that would be a good time to do something like this to say.
Do you know what date that is exactly? I know it's the because it's the what did you say? 1700 years. Yeah. I don't know the date that
look it up
the
while we
council
talk
met,
here.
but I know that Dr. Andy Starrin over at the seminary had asked if we could do something to celebrate this date. Now, had we not been given the charge of the 3rd year of Eucharistic revival, the bishop's new pastoral letter, and being in the Jubilee Year of Hope, we probably would have done something formally. But maybe out of your office, you can do something. Maybe, I don't know. We haven't. How big is the Orthodox community here in Cleveland? Maybe something could be done.
Yeah, absolutely. May 20th is the actual commemoration.
So it was already, okay.
But I know they talked about celebrating something this summer, maybe around Pentecost was one idea. That I know Dr. Starrin was talking about that with me as well. He said, we should probably do something around Pentecost. That would be a good idea. So we've been talking, but nothing's come of it just as of yet. But if it does, we'll let you know.
Yeah, be cool.
Yeah, it will be fun to do that, I think, and we should do more of those kinds of things. I know we have an Eastern Churches dialogue as well. That's out of John Carroll, and we've talked about maybe doing like a little tour of all the Eastern churches in Parma, and just have everybody have their place open, like sort of like a little open house, and maybe have some food, and maybe make it into like a little festival of faith kind of thing. So that's probably in the works long term.
Well, on State Road there is the Ukrainian Cathedral for the Eparchy of Parma, Ukrainian church.
I was just there yesterday.
Yeah? We used to get parohi there when we were kids. And then if you go south of there is an Orthodox church on the east side of State Road.
Right.
And a few of my friends had parties back in their party center back there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's across the street from the Jesuit Retreat Center, right?
No, south.
South further.
Yeah.
I got it. Yeah.
There's
I know what you mean now, yes.
Yeah, there's a huge, beautiful mosaic on the front. I remember as a kid, like looking at that and asking my parents, like, can we go to church there? They're like, well, no, but they're with us. And they're trying to explain to me in my young age how that all worked out,
Different rites, yeah.
And for the Orthodox, we allow them to take our sacraments, and theirs we consider valid, but we don't take them because we're not in communion, you know? So, but it would be certainly nice to have communion once again with our Orthodox brothers and sisters, and that's bigger fish to fry than I'm able to do, but I can certainly pray for it.
Exactly, yeah. The this week was Memorial Day. It was on Monday, and so I preached at Mass at the 9 o'clock Mass that we have for Memorial Day in our parish. And one of the things that I talked about were chaplains, about combat chaplains. Great movie, by the way, that Paul's Productions just put out, Fighting Spirit. It's only it's 73 minutes long, but it talks about combat chaplains and how they've had to serve the needs of everybody. They don't just serve their own denomination. They make sure that their own denomination has services, and that people have access to those services. But they end up, and certainly in a combat place, right? And they end up serving the needs of everybody, pulling all kinds of people off the line into safety, and they go out there without weapons. It was just a great movie. If you get a chance, really look at it. But one of the stories in there, actually, I have a family relation with my wife's family. Her uncle Mike, her great uncle, was in World War II. And so there were these 4 chaplains on the Dorchester, which was sort of like a transport ship that the War administration put together. And they were heading out into the North Atlantic to go to Greenland. And then off the coast of Newfoundland, a German torpedo hit them.
Oh.
And the Dorchester starts to sink, and the 4 chaplains organized the disembarkment of people onto the lifeboats. And so they made it very orderly, and they kept everything calm, and they started bringing them all onto the lifeboats. Well, eventually they run out of space in the lifeboats. They just start handing people life jackets and have to get into the water. And most of those people froze to death, honestly, but they started handing out all the life jackets, and then they run out of life jackets, and the 4 guys took their 4 life jackets off and gave them to somebody else. And they linked arms, they said prayers, they sang hymns, and they sank into the water and died.
Wow.
So 4 guys, Catholic, a Jew, Reformed minister, and a Methodist minister.
Talk about the gift of self.
Yeah, exactly. But talk about also, that they could have been in a place where my religion's better than yours, and they didn't. They united amongst everybody in that boat and saved the lives of many, many people that would not have made it if it weren't for them. That's cool. Certainly the 4 who they gave their life jackets to, in particular. But they said the last words that were heard, they said they heard prayers in Latin, prayers in Hebrew, and then the 2 guys who were speaking English, they said that the last thing that they heard was the guy said, "Please, Lord, we pray today for the people who are on those lifeboats that they will be brought to safety." So they don't even think about their own self at that point. They just are still focused on the people that they served as chaplains. So they're kind of a nice model for ecumenical and interfaith relations, certainly, but also just a nice model of heroism that we could lean into on Memorial Day in particular. So,
what was that film that was out a few years ago where Teresa Palmer was a really pretty nurse in there, and there was a chaplain who never carried any weapons, but he rescued all these guys off the field and brought them down. Was it Hacksaw Ridge or something?
It might have been.
I love that film. It was a great film about another chaplain just self-sacrificing.
Is that Father Kapoor? Is that who is? He was in Korea.
I don't know where this guy was.
Yeah, he's the other one that a lot of the other military chaplain that Catholics point to. They found him because he was captured by the Koreans, and by the I shouldn't say that, he was captured by the Chinese during the Korean War, and he brought such hope to the prisoners that they eventually said, "We've got to kill this guy because he's giving hope to the prisoners." Oh. And so they killed him and they hid his body for years, and they finally recovered it and they brought it back, and there was this big, huge funeral for him in the Diocese of Wichita, because he was from Kansas, and he's on his way to sainthood. I think he's venerable already.
I think I have a pair of socks that have his face on it from Socks Religious. Okay, nice. Teresa Palmer starred in the war movie Hacksaw Ridge 2016, right, which is a biographical drama based on the true story of Desmond Doss, a World War II medic who refused to carry a weapon. So he wasn't a chaplain, but he wouldn't carry a weapon because he didn't believe in violence. So he's still conscientious objector kind of person. But he didn't fight, but he was in war, but rescuing people. Yeah. It's cool. You should see it.
I will take a look at that. I have not seen that movie yet.
Yeah.
Always good.
Okay.
Did you eat a hot dog on Memorial Day? You always encourage me to eat a hot dog on Memorial Day.
No. Oh. What did I have yesterday? I went over to Father Mark Riley's place. We brought out the grill.
Nice.
It had propane in it, which a lot of times when people bring out the grill for the first time, they forget to replace the propane. So we grilled some salmon and some kobasi.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. Yesterday was the 26th. It was the 9th anniversary of my dad's death. So I went to the cemetery for a little bit. I cleaned off his grave with scissors, but there was a guy behind me. I was so envious. He brought his weed whacker to the cemetery. I'm like, good for you. I just don't like my car smelling like two-cycle gas. Anyway, and then I went to visit a priest friend, and then I went to Riley's place and we grilled out. But no hot dogs for me. I think I recently watched a video on Instagram and reminded myself of what hot dogs were made of.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just avoiding them.
Two things you don't want to see made, laws and sausages.
Yeah, there you go. But I'll eat brats.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
I mean, kobasi is kind of like a hot dog, but not really. Because the hot dog's just scraps of everything else that doesn't.
Usually, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But unless they're all beef, I suppose.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I did have an all-beef hot dog.
Well, then you shouldn't feel too bad.
At Bearden's in Rocky River. Have you been there? You would like this place, I think. It looks like an old 50s kind of diner place, and they have good burgers, good milkshakes, good hot dogs. And so Mary and I went there because I wanted a hot dog for Memorial Day. So
I've seen the healthier option to hot dogs are they carrots? You take a carrot and then you make it in the shape of a hot dog and then you cook it. I saw it on Instagram,
Carrots should not be hot dogs nor cake, in my opinion.
I like carrot cake.
Do you like carrot cake? My wife likes carrot cake.
I don't eat a lot of cake, but I like carrot cake.
I don't eat a lot of cake
I think I like
either.
the frosting.
Yeah, that might be right. Cream cheese frosting.
Oh, speaking of sweets, the deliveries were made to all the Jubilee parishes and shrines. Yeah. So it's up to those parishes and shrines as to when they will distribute or have a celebration where this ice cream will be served. But look for it. There'll be Jubilee Indulgence and Pilgrim Tracts.
Very nice.
Yeah.
We'll be out in Parma in July.
For what?
For the Pilgrims.
Oh, it's July 19th.
July 19th.
It's not Parma, it's Parma Heights.
Parma Heights, yeah.
Yeah, so 4 p.m. Mass, St. John Bosco, and then process down, praying the Rosary to Incarnate Word. There'll be live music there. I got the Tom Evanchuk Trio to play. I met with the nuns last week, and I think the Knights of Columbus from St. Peter the Apostle will be providing food, so It should be pretty fun.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Speaking of fun and speaking of St. John Bosco and Parma, softball starts this week. So
wonderful.
Yeah, so this Sunday we'll be out there starting around noon, and feel free to come on out and watch. We got an extra team this year, so that's good. So more people, 171.
How many teams
playing softball?
9?
9, yes, correct.
Cool.
So yeah, it'll be fun. They had to go and try to start to get in umpire shape this week. So,
well, you know what else looks good besides softball? These websites that are made by Briefcase Marketing.
You ain't kidding. They make sure your church doesn't have scattered messaging or a bad website.
Briefcase Marketing makes marketing for your church or church-based ministry that inspires action and delivers results.
They will clarify your message to attract the right audience. They'll streamline your website to convert mere visitors into customers, donors, volunteers, parishioners. And they'll create consistency that will build trust and deepen relationships across all of your marketing platforms. That's your emails, your ads, your social media.
If you need proof, Briefcase Marketing has great Google reviews. They've done superb work with our friends at Theology of the Body Cleveland and St. John Cantius Parish in Tremont, and we'll put those samples of that work in our show notes, make it easier for you to check them out.
They've also done Womankind, which is also a great website. They did a really good job with that one. So with a clear message and a compelling website, Briefcase Marketing will help you get more donors giving you your mission, more volunteers ready to serve, more people sharing your message, and in the end of the day, that makes them your advocates.
So visit their website, that's briefcase.marketing. We've got their link in the show notes, or text 308-627-1262, and our pal Dan First will take good care of you at Briefcase Marketing.
He the man. Dan First. Love Dan First. Was out at the...
if you're not first, you're last.
I was out at the Jesuit Retreat Center this weekend, directing 3 people on retreat, which was fun. Yeah,
was it a formal retreat?
It was a 3-day. They had some folks there that were on a 5-day. I think some folks there were finishing up a 7-day. So it's sort of that season for them where they have people coming in for various lengths of time.
I see.
But this was a 3-day retreat, and so I directed 3 people. It was fun.
They just meet once a day with you, is that it?
Correct.
Do scripture passages?
Correct, yeah.
Do you assign them, or does somebody assign them and then they just come in and chat with you, or what?
It depends on the person.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes I give them stuff to read. Sometimes they come with stuff themselves, and they want to concentrate on that. And sometimes come with particular needs, particular things. So you don't mess with the creature, as God would tell us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we accept them where they are, but then we give them some direction along the way as well. So usually I start everybody out with Psalm 139.
Yeah,
and then
that's pretty typical for Ignatian retreats.
Yeah, and then take it from there.
I had one of the TOR sisters, who's a trained spiritual director. I met with her a couple times during my retreat. It was very helpful. Yeah, very good. So, there's all sorts of different retreats you can do. You can do just silence. You can do a directed retreat. You could do a conference-centered retreat. There's all sorts of things. I think the most important thing to do on retreat is to turn off your phone completely for the whole time you're there.
Every single one of my directees said that this week.
Because that you're free of all sorts of distractions. There's no work. There's no email. I left the number of the retreat house, the hospitality coordinator, with the guys across the street, like Bishop and Father Don, Father Joe. It said, if you need me in case of an emergency, call this. Otherwise, my phone's off. That frees you up to be at the Lord's beck and call, because he wants to enter in, and he can only enter in when there's silence, and that's where he speaks. So turn off your phone. Go on a retreat, turn off your phone. It's really easy to make every excuse of why you need to leave your phone on. But if you could risk it to turn it off, great things happen.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I know, even this weekend while I was directing people, I turned my phone off. I went for a nice walk out in the grounds there, which are great, and then I came back in. I took some time and really just relaxed, which I haven't been able to do for a while.
So that liberating.
It was really liberating. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. God did speak to me in many ways, so it was fun.
That's good.
And then, by the way, we could use this as our church search. The chapel they have upstairs at the Jesuit Retreat House is really lovely. It's really nice. So it's with glass looking out onto the
stone walls with candles on the side.
Correct.
Yeah, glass looking out to nature.
Yep.
Francine uses that. Does it have a name?
It was dedicated to Father Howard Gray, who was. He was director of mission at Georgetown for a number of years, and at John Carroll.
Yeah, I remember him.
That was how I got to know him. Just a great guy.
But it doesn't have like a saint name or anything? I don't know.
Not yet.
Okay.
They're in the process now of both chapels. I think they're looking for donors to kind of rehab both of the chapels a little bit. And,
well, then there's that third chapel, that little, and I didn't know it was a Eucharistic chapel until I noticed, there is a votive light there, but the tabernacle's kind of hidden into the wall.
Yeah.
I like hearing confessions in there when I'm on retreat.
Yeah, it's great. It's a lovely place. So the Jesuit Retreat Center in Parma, check it out. It just kind of pops up in the middle of State Road there, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah, and they basically own a whole city block, and the property goes deep.
Yes.
And there's a cemetery for Jesuits on the back end of the property, Stations of the Cross. Deer will come up and eat out of your hand, although I don't know if that's a good idea. It's a nice little oasis there in Parma. It's been there forever. It used to be, the novitiate house or the
Correct. It was the Jesuit novitiate. Pedro Arrupe actually did study there for a very brief time, and so they kind of hold that up as that he was on the property there as well. But yeah, so the Jesuit Retreat Center is just great. Our buddy Bill Hobbs out there runs a good show, so I go there often.
That's cool.
All right, so we're Ascension of the Lord. Oof, already.
Yeah, some dioceses still have it on Thursday because that's 40 days out, but most dioceses in the United States still celebrate it on Sunday so that everybody can celebrate it.
Correct. And so the first reading is for the start of the Acts of the Apostles, which is always great. And we hear a little bit about the Ascension there. We hear a little bit more about it in the Gospel as well. I have been asked, it's the 10th anniversary of Laudato Si this week also. And so our Care for the Common Earth has asked me, the committee at St. Chris has asked me to preach on that this weekend. So Jesus ascended to heaven, but he left us here on earth. So our job is to care for the earth. Will be sort of the theme that I'm going to be working on. Haven't written it yet.
I have Mass. I have a 5 p.m. somewhere and then 8 p.m. I think at Holy Rosary on Sunday. So it's weird not to have a vigil or morning masses. So I have not started my homily prep yet. What I do know about the Ascension is that in order for every human to have access to Jesus, he needs to ascend to the Father so that he's not limited by time and space.
Right, got it.
And that's a pretty important feature of our resurrected Lord, is that he has to complete the journey to the Father so that we can follow him up there. And his humanity, now for the first time, enters into heaven so that we can all follow him there. I think the preface says something like that.
Yeah,
too.
I think that's right. Yeah. So that'll be cool. So
awesome.
Solemnity of the Ascension of the Lord this weekend at your local parish. All right.
Well, we got a surprise for you next week and a recurring guest, but a little surprise. So something to look forward to.
Yeah, something to look forward to. Yeah. And one of our favorite guests will be on his way back here. So
true.
Oh, we just gave away that it's a man, not a woman, so that's what we do. We give away things. Little Easter eggs, right?
I suppose.
All right, so check out the Ascension of the Lord this week at your local parish. We'll have this and a whole lot more next time you're on Question of Faith.